Hello dear students, welcome on board. Well, I'm all set to explain you all the ninth chapter of the textbook Springs. That is, I believe that books will never disappear. Well, this is a new genre, that is an interview. We have learned poems, we have learned short stories, we have learned biographies. This is an interview with Jorge Luis Borges. Well, let us know about the interviewee, that is the one who is getting interviewed, that is Jorge Luis Borges. He is an Argentine short story writer, poet, essayist, and a translator. He is a multifaceted personality. His famous books are Ficciones in 1944 and The Aleph in 1949. One must know that his works are a compilation of short stories interconnected by common themes. The most common themes that his books are of dreams, labyrinths. Labyrinths are nothing but mazes. Libraries, mirrors, infinity, fictional writers, philosophy, religion, and God. These are few of the very important themes, yet common in his writings. As far as the interviewer is concerned, he is Roberto Alefano. He himself is a poet, storyteller, essayist, and a journalist. His books are translated into many languages. He was an amanuensis who worked with Borges from 1974 to 1985. Well, an amanuensis is an assistant to artists who take dictation, who acts as scribe. We must know that Borges became completely blind when he was 55 years old. So he had hired Alefano as an amanuensis. So the interview begins. Please note that Alefano's content, that is his questions, are in direct speech, as in the same way as the content is in textbook is copied here. And as far as Borges content is concerned, it is in indirect speech, that is, it is explained for you all. Let us get underway. Roberto Alefano, his first question is, what was your first literary reading, Borges? To which Borges replies that his first literary reading is Grimm's Fairy Tales in an English version. Grimm's Fairy Tales was by Grimm Brothers, which was also known as children's book containing short stories of fairy tales. He further states that he was educated by his father's library more than by high school or the university. So he studied more in his father's library than in high school or university. The next question Alefano asks is, can we talk about Donna Leonor, your mother? Borges explains that she was an extraordinary person, as all mothers are, but he feels guilty for not giving her the deserved happiness. We all feel guilty for not giving our mother the love that she deserves. He says that children take their mothers for granted just as the moon, the sun, or the seasons. We all have introspected this fact that we always take our mothers for granted, like we take the sun, the moon, the seasons. We usually need something, only then we go for our mother. Be it the smallest of small things like handkerchief or the key of our bikes or the notes that we have missed somewhere. So we just give a call to mother and we get it all. But whenever we are in our own, we tend to take our mothers for granted. That is what Borges explains here. He also states that she was an intelligent and a gracious woman who had no enemies. This is a very important fact that he proclaims about his mother. Moving further, Alefano's next question is, please forgive me, Borges, for asking you this. What is blindness to you? We all know for the fact by now that Borges went completely blind when he was 55 years old, and this interview is taking place when he is 83 years old. So Alefano asks about his blindness, what blindness is to Borges, to which Borges says that it is a way of life, not entirely unhappy though. He says blindness has become part of his life, which is not completely unhappy. He further says that whatever happens in life is a resource. So he considers his blindness as a resource. He further claims that all misfortunes, humiliations, and embarrassments are given to us as raw material, as clay to shape our art. So he considers all the misfortunes, humiliations, and embarrassments as muse that gives an inspiration to shape one's art. So he is not completely devastated, dejected for losing his sight, but he considers his blindness as a resource. Further, Alefano quotes Homer by asking this question. Homer wrote in the Odyssey, the gods wrought and spun the skein of ruin for men, that there might be a song for those yet to be born. Homer, as we all know, was born in 800 BC, one of the finest writers of Greek literature. He was the one who has penned the Odyssey. The Odyssey is the book which is all about the 10-year-long journey of a king named Odysseus, who tries to return to his home after the infamous Trojan War. So this is all about the Odyssey and Homer. Alefano quotes here about Homer's lines in the Odyssey. The line is very simple, which means that gods give us a lot of troubles or misfortunes, not to disregard us or humiliate us, but to test us, so that when we come as victorious, we shall have stories to tell to our successors. So, this is what the line means here. Borges says that the miserable circumstances of our life must be transmuted to create eternal works. That is what he says. He says we should not be dejected just because we are undergoing miserable circumstances, but in fact, we should transform that same energy of dejection to create eternal works. We should be inspired and create those eternal works and be an inspiration for the others, is what Borges says. He also quotes the famous German writer here, that is Goethe. His lines, I quote and unquote, "Alles nahe word fern," which means all that is near becomes far. We all have experienced this particular fact, and we are going to experience it in future as well. That is, all that is near, be things, people that we have loved, the objects that we have loved, all that was near to us will once go far. So here Borges says this about his blindness. His sight was once very near to him, and during the time of this interview, that is when he was 55 years old itself, he had lost his most deared and neared thing, that is his own sight. So Borges still pretends that he is not blind, and in fact goes on filling his house with books. He doesn't feel discouraged, devastated, humiliated because he was blind. He never felt that. Instead, he went on filling his house with a lot of books. The next question, Alefano draws the Borges' attention to the theme of books. Here he states that there is a theme I would like us to speak about, the theme of books. To which Borges replies that he had a strange dream the night before the interview, that is, that the Library of Alexandria, with its countless volumes attacked by flames. We all know about the Library of Alexandria, which is situated in Alexandria, Egypt. It was established in 246 BC, which was completely destroyed by Julius Caesar by setting fire. So Borges dreams about this particular library of Alexandria, which was in complete flames. He in fact questions Alefano back by asking if the dream had some meaning. To counter Borges, Alefano comes up with another question, that is, could it be that you owe your readers a book on the history of the book? A book on the history of the book. Have you ever thought of writing such a book? Borges answered that he stated that it was an excellent idea and further said that he would keep that in his mind. But he is quite cynical about himself because he doubtfully states if an 83-year-old could set a project for himself. He is quite little pessimistic because he is first of all blind and he is 83 years old. We, we must know for the fact that just after 4 years of this interview, he breathed his last when he was 87 years old. So he is quite doubtful about his own state to set a project for himself to write a book on the history of the book. He states about Spengler. He answers Alefano by giving the example of Spengler, Oswald Spengler, who wrote remarkable comments on books in his book Decline of the West. So, already such a thing has been done by Spengler in his book Decline of the West. That is, he has written on the history of the book in his book The Decline of the West, is what Borges says. Well, I hope you have understood up until now. We shall halt at this, dear students. We will continue with the text. I believe that books will never disappear in the next session. Thank you. Stay safe.